welcome to ESPN's Holiday Hoops, presented. This is the ACC Big Ten Challenge presented by Continental Tire. Reigning Big Ten champion Maryland visiting former ACC rival Clemson, a battle of early season unbeatens. And welcome, everybody. Doug Sherman along with a now clean-shaven Corey Alexander. So glad you could join us for what should be a highly competitive game here tonight, Corey.
It should be. And Clemson looking for its actually second win of the season over the young season over a Big Ten team, already knocking off Purdue early in the year, this time taking on the reigning Big Ten champion Maryland Terrapins with a coach who's familiar with this Big Ten ACC challenge on both sides. Mark Turgeon, who has won games for Maryland for the ACC and won games for Maryland in the Big Ten.
And there's Mark Turgeon, the 10th-year head coach, who said the last time he brought a team to Littlejohn Coliseum to play, he was still jogging. That's how long it's been since Maryland left the ACC for the Big Ten back in 2014. He is anticipating tonight the opportunity for his team to play for the first time in front of at least a few fans at Littlejohn Coliseum, and a chance to see them for what might be the only time this year. We shall see. Meanwhile, for Clemson, come in with a 3-0 record for head coach Brad Brownell. And we saw the record in this ACC Big Ten Challenge from last night, Corey. ACC struggled quite a bit. It was really dominating for the Big Ten, hoping to flip it around here tonight.
It has been a struggle for the ACC thus far in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, but one of the things we talked with Coach Turgeon about, he knows the difference between these two leagues, and he said clearly that the Big Ten gets older. The ACC, with so many one-and-dones, you have the athleticism and the length, but oftentimes you have younger teams, especially at this part of the season.
Maryland in black, Clemson in white. Clyde Trapp at the point, along with Dawes, Newman, Bear, and Sims to start things off for Coach Brownell. And the starters for the Terps. Wiggins back in the starting lineup. Last year's conference sixth man of the year. Ayala, Morsell, Scott, and Smith. And the Terps are on the board first.
And a defensive breakdown by Clemson, who have been a very good defensive team this season, but Maryland has been great offensively, averaging 84 points per game and an average margin of victory of over 24 points per game. So the Terps can put points on the board. Going to test the defense of Clemson tonight.
Strong drive to the bucket. First 2 points for the Tigers go to John Newman III.
One of the areas that Clemson has going for them this year is something that Brad Brownell has never had in his lineup. He has tremendous depth at the guard position. So many guys that he can put out there. Coach Brownell now playing 11 and often 12 guys in their regular rotation.
Corner three off the mark by Wiggins. And I wonder, Corey, he struggled so much in the win over St. Peter's on Friday. Wiggins in the starting lineup tonight. You've done both in college and the NBA, starting, coming off the bench. What's the difference, and why might Wiggins be starting this game here tonight?
Well, he's starting because Mark Turgeon wants more from him. As you mentioned, the struggle versus St. Peter's, and he's a integral part to this, part to this team. So you have to make sure you're getting his best production. Some guys don't do well coming off the bench. I was one of those guys, and right now, oftentimes, coaches will put a guy who struggled in the starting lineup to see if they can get him off to a better start in the game.
Even though Wiggins a year ago was so good coming off the bench for a Maryland team that won the Big Ten Conference and finished with a 24-7 overall record. Sims keeps it alive. It goes out of bounds, though, back to the Terrapins. There's Brad Brownell, the 11th-year head coach at Clemson. Former standout point guard at Division III DePauw University in Indiana, now 52 years old, a former high school teammate of Calbert Chaney.
And Brad Brownell is a knockdown shooter, Doug. No question about it. I've seen him in action in the gym shooting against his teams, and he normally wins most of those shooting contests. I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but Coach Brownell has walked away with a number of shoot-around championships over the past few years I've been covering Clemson basketball.
Right. While the quickness and the speed and the leaping ability go away, the jump shot doesn't leave as you get older. Right, Corey?
It does not. And I can attest to that as my guy, Amir Sim, goes glass from about 10 feet in. He's even flashing a smile knowing that wasn't on purpose, but he'll take the 2 points.
We had a nice chat this afternoon with young Mr. Sims, enjoying his 4th year out of Palmyra, Virginia. And you've known him since he was in grade school, right, Corey?
Absolutely. And this young man is someone that I'm concerned about taking my job years from now, hoping he has a long professional career so I can hang on to my job for just a little while longer.
Ball comes to the Terps. Trailing 4-2 early. Slow start offensively for both squads. This is Aaron Wiggins. Galen Smith called for traveling.
And one of the areas where Clemson is not concerned is really throwing the basketball into the post, as we see Amir Sims putting his hands up, wondering how did that happen. You're talking about a guy that knocks down threes with ease and going glass on the 10-foot right in front of the rim. Not something you're going to see a lot from Sims, but still counts as a field goal made.
Chase Hunter's come into the game for Clemson, which turns it over. Wiggins backing down. The turnaround from the baseline, no good. Fight for the rebound comes to the Tigers. Count it for 3.
And that's Nick Honor, who has been a great addition to this Clemson team. 17 points for him against Purdue, along with 4 steals. And you see him bringing the full court pressure is a difference maker for the Clemson Tigers, who are off to a great start here. A 5-point lead over the Terps in the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Continental Tire, for what you do. Welcome back to ESPN's Holiday Hoops, presented by Pandora. Clemson with the early lead over Maryland, and as we've talked about, of course, these are longtime ACC rivals until a few years ago when the Terps moved to the Big Ten Conference, so they're very familiar historically, Corey.
They are, and we talked with, of course, members from both sides earlier today, and they both talk about each other's crowd, so that does not come into the factor much here tonight. But Maryland, of course, one of the most passionate fan bases in college basketball, always tough to play in Littlejohn, and both coaches talking about that today, just how it was playing against each other in the same conference, now having played against each other in 6 seasons, so reuniting an old rivalry.
You see the offense-defense matchup between these two teams. We are expecting a competitive game, but Maryland off to a slow start on the offensive end. 9 possessions, 1 of 6 shooting, and 3 turnovers. They're down 5. Good defense there, though. The block shot has Daryl Morcell coming back the other way. The spin to the bucket, and he missed the layup. Good fight for the basketball. That's Hunter Tyson, the junior from Monroe, North Carolina, getting on the floor for the Tigers.
One of the things you've got to love about Maryland, and Coach Turgeon loves it about his team. As a matter of fact, it's one of the first things that he talked about was how hard they practice and how hard they compete. And he loves his team for that. They come in every day ready to go to work. And he says that really the quarantine and dealing with COVID, the time that they spent apart made his team really appreciate being together, being around each other, and they go at it when they get in the gym.
Corey, the other thing he pointed out, best thing about the quarantine time, you remember?
I do. But he got to know his kids better. That's
well,
one of the
that
things.
Was the first, the main one. The other one he threw in was less traffic around D.C.
Well, that is true. That is true. But anybody from the DMV area knows that. I mean, when you can work from home, that's a win-win.
Trapped with the pass. Shot off the mark by P.J. Hall, who's playing again tonight for Clemson after sitting out their last game with a concussion, but he's been practicing the last couple of days, and this highly touted freshman, according to Coach Brownell this morning, told us he's good to go.
And P.J. Hall is next up. He's the next star for the Clemson Tigers. Had a great debut, 10 points against Mississippi State when Amir Sims got into foul trouble early. He actually had 10 points in that game and was able to come in and give big minutes for Amir Sims. And when I'm sure wasn't expecting that when you would consider that Sims is an all-ACC performer, first team preseason all-ACC. But P.J. Hall was up to the task, and Maryland up to the task, putting more points on the board on that possession.
Those were the first 2 points by the Terps in over 4 minutes on the layup by Ayala. Hall, skip pass cross court, Honor for three. Left it short. Dante Scott, built like a power forward, but got skills all the way around.
And it's a lot of that in this game. You'll see a number of the bigger players out on the perimeter making plays as Hunter Tyson's able to knock down the three. But both these teams have guys in that 6'6" to 6'8" range that are playmakers. And so you'll see a lot of five-out basketball, a lot of lane clearing, and guys spacing the floor. The guys from Maryland are a little bigger and stronger, while the guys from Clemson are faster and quicker.
Wiggins is fouled on the drive. And we see more and more of that across all levels of college and professional basketball now, right, Corey?
We do, and what people like to refer to as a positionless game, which I don't necessarily agree with that term, but you do have larger, taller skill players than in the past. And oftentimes what we're seeing is many college basketball teams going to five-out offenses and definitely four around one, only one post player, if that, on the floor at a time.
Joel Marial, a true center, into the lineup for Maryland for the first time. Rebound grab by Trapp. He'll dribble up. Amir Sims sets the screen. Hemingway. Now they feed the post. Back to Sims. From the baseline, off the front rim. Terps come up with it. Rebound for Ayala.
And Amir Sims has a quickness advantage over Mariel in that possession. He bailed him out shooting the jump shot. That's one, if you're Amir, you want to take that to the rim and make the big fella have to move his feet to guard you. Doug, one of the cardinal rules of the game of basketball for big men: do not bring the ball down and put yourself on the level of guards. You see Mariel making the mistake of doing that on that possession, and it turns into a 5-point swing in favor of the Clemson Tigers.
Alex Hemingway makes it a 9-point ball game for the Tigers.
And you see the shooting right now. Clemson 3 for 8 from beyond the three-point arc. Maryland has yet to knock down a three, and this Maryland team comes in shooting the basketball great on the season. But another turnover for Maryland as we take a break. Clemson with a 9-point lead early in this game, scoring off of their defense, turning defense into offense. The big fella, you bring the basketball down around Nick Honor, you may as well give it to him. Honor does a great job pushing the other direction, and it's the three ball, corner pocket from Hemingway, giving Clemson the lead.
Through 4 games this season, Mark Turgeon's Maryland Terrapins were shooting 56% collectively. That's 9th best in the country. But so far tonight, not so good at the offensive end, Corey.
And, Doug, they were also shooting 42.5% from beyond the three-point arc as Clemson has a uncharacteristic turnover on the inbounds play. Coming out of the timeout, giving the basketball back to Maryland. But we asked Coach Turgeon about his team and if there was something different that they were doing and why they were shooting the basketball so well. He said he would love to be able to tell you why. He would bottle it up and save it, but does not have any idea why that's been the case. But I can tell you right now, a lot of it, I'm sure, has to do with the familiar confines of their own arena, because right now the shooting has not traveled to Littlejohn thus far.
Algerius Hamilton with his first two. Sims answers with a triple at the other end.
Speaking of comfortable, Clemson is very comfortable shooting the ball inside their own arena. We saw that last night in the Iowa-North Carolina game, where Iowa made 17 threes over the Tar Heels. When people say that home court advantage doesn't matter because you don't have the fans, the familiarity in the arena and shooting in that gym does make a difference, as we get an opportunity to see Amir Sims stepping up and knocking this one down the more traditional way, not going glass. But the three ball on the wing is good for the preseason first team All-ACC senior.
I'm sure he's going to appreciate if they watch this back, you pointing out that not a bank shot thing again, Corey.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He'll text me later. he'll bring it up and make sure he knows I'm talking about him banking a shot in from 10 feet.
Well, 6'8.5". He says he's at 240 pounds now. And
they say he lost all his quarantine weight.
Whatever it takes, right?
Meaning he ate good throughout the quarantine and got to work when he got back to Clemson. And we talked with Brad Brownell about just that. And, you know, he talked about how many of his guys he felt were very lonely over the summer at home. Many of them couldn't get into a gym. And so they were excited about getting back on campus and getting to work. And more importantly, spending time with each other. He feels like his team's chemistry and camaraderie is much better after having gone through that quarantine.
Here's Hamilton, the Boston College transfer. Sets a screen after the dribble handoff. Got a good look, but the shot by Morsell missed the mark. Well, one of the big parts of this quick start to the year for Clemson has been the play of their bench. And you alluded to it earlier, Corey, how deep the bench is at this point. In their win over Mississippi State, the bench combined to score 26 points. Then against Purdue, it was 28. Then last time out against South Carolina State, the reserves scored 36. And so far, the reserves in this game have more than half of their total points.
Well, and it's coming from beyond the three-point arc. You've got Nick Honor knocking down to three, Hunter Tyson knocking down to three, and Hemingway knocking down to three. So you've got those three guys coming off the bench and giving instant offense. And right now, Maryland going to the zone defense. You have to be very careful with that, with the ability to shoot the basketball that Clemson has on the floor.
Hemingway, a little strong. Sims the rebound. Ball gets loose, goes to the backcourt, but it was deflected by the Terrapins. By the way, that last foul was on Morsell, his second. Second shot from the same spot is good by Hemingway.
I tell you what, Hemingway he's got the quick trigger. I mean, the pump fake, just to get the defender to move a little bit. You know you have a green light when you take that shot. Brad Brownell must have given him the neon green if he's shooting with that type of confidence.
Nice cut on the backdoor pass. And a foul call.
Hemingway upset about the fact that he missed the first one. Then the pump fake throws the defender off just enough to be able to get space to knock down the shot. Holding the follow through. Leave it up, shooter. Make sure the scorebook knows exactly who made that shot.
Yeah, he's out of Castle High School, Newburgh, Indiana, and watching him on that shot and holding his pose, couldn't you see him playing a role in Hoosiers back in the day?
Well, he's definitely got Jimmy's jump shot. It was Jimmy that made the big shot in Hoosiers, correct?
Yes.
So he's got a jump shot that looks like Jimmy. And right now, Hemingway earning more and more time on the floor. But Doug, one of the things you mentioned about Clemson and playing more in the rotation, the fact that you can hear more in the arena, you hear Brad Brownell as soon as they get a rebound yelling, go, go, go. That's new for this Clemson Tiger team. That's not been the pace that they've played with really over the past 10 years that Coach Brownell has been the head coach, but he's never had this level of depth before in order to be able to do so.
Count the bucket and a chance for three.
And as Maryland tries to go to full court pressure, when you have so many skilled guys and your point center or point forward, whichever you want to call Amir Sims, is that skilled, it's dangerous on the backside when you're able to get through the pressure, and now you're playing advantage basketball, whether it's 3-on-2 or 2-on-1 on the back end.
Preseason first-team All-ACC. Sims misses the free throw. We asked Coach Brownell earlier today how Sims has gotten better over his 4 years at Clemson. And he said he really saw a change in him midway through his junior season last winter. And again, Corey, you've known him for many years coming up through high school. How have you seen Sims' game grow?
Well, he's always been skilled, but the thing is, and what Brad Brownell talked about, is his ability to pass the basketball and make plays for his teammates. They made the change after they lost Elijah Thomas, who graduated, and Amir Sims became the 5. And at the 5 position, he's on the perimeter a lot more, and Brad Brownell has trusted him to be able to make plays, and right now he and his teammates are making enough plays to have a 16-point lead. Amir Sims getting a tremendous amount of respect from the Maryland Terrapins. 2 guys trying to keep him off the offensive glass. Still gets a hand on the basketball, and that opens it up for Omax, Olivier Maxence Prosper, who's able to come up with the offensive board and 2 second-chance points for the Clemson Tigers.
It's a 23-7 Clemson. Maryland has obviously yet to get going on offense. Too many turnovers. Under 9 minutes remaining in the first. So glad you could join us here for this ACC Big Ten Challenge presented by Continental Tire. This is day 2 of this event between the 2 leagues, and we are thrilled to bring it to you from Littlejohn Coliseum in Clemson, South Carolina. And there is another turnover by the Terrapins. Aaron Wiggins with the travel. That is the 6th turnover. And there you see the distribution of points, Corey. 9 points for the starters, 14 off the bench for Coach Brownell.
And that's a luxury to have, and especially when you consider the state that our country's in and the game of basketball is in. When you look at the COVID protocols and all the possibility of possibly missing a guy or 2, and Clemson has had players who've had to sit out because of concussions, etc. When you consider that, the more players that you have and that are playing confidently on a regular basis, the better off you can be. And right now, the Tigers are putting it on the Terps early in this game.
Big shot by Dante Scott, the sophomore from Philadelphia.
Coach Turgeon talked about the improvement of Dante Scott. He says, even though he was there a year ago, he's a much better player for them now. And you see Scott shooting the basketball with confidence, knocking down the 3. But having the veteran leadership and the experience of guys who won a Big Ten championship a year ago has helped Maryland thus far, and they're going to need that to get back from this 15-point deficit.
Clemson opened up its season last month with a couple of wins over power conference teams, Mississippi State, and then this game against Purdue. Amir Sims, 24 points. Nick Honor, 17 points, a career-high 4 steals. 81-70 was the final to win the 14 Space Coast Challenge. And again, in this odd 2020-21 season, Corey, you take any opponent, any game you can, wherever it is, hope you get a win and build on it.
You are absolutely correct, Doug. And Clemson built significantly on that because Brad Brownell learned that he has a bunch of guys that he can trust. And thus far in this game, he has played 11 players. And so right now, when you're Brad Brownell, and of course, there's a long time remaining in this game, but when you like the way that your team has come out and started this game, but more importantly, they didn't play those 2 games at home. So you were able to get away and play some basketball. Now you feel comfortable coming back to your home arena with a tremendous amount of confidence, knowing that you beat 2 Power 5 teams already.
And Corey, under more normal circumstances, trying to play 12 players every night is not usually a good thing, right?
Well, we didn't think so until we saw Leonard Hamilton do it for the past 5-6 years at Florida State and build a national program because of it. So, one of the things that you see, if someone does something that's successful, you'll find more and more people trying to do that afterwards. So it can happen. It's possible. We've seen Florida State do it. And right now, Brad Brownell is doing it to perfection with a 17-point lead in this game.
But the challenge of that, which Coach Hamilton, like to say, has mastered, is keeping everybody happy, and part of that is obviously winning. If you win and don't get as many minutes, it's a lot easier to tell a guy, hey, you're only playing 22 minutes as opposed to 32 minutes, right?
But Coach Brownell, told us that he had that conversation with his teams, and one of the things that you do in that scenario, Doug, is you go to your best player. Well, Brad Brownell's best player is Amir Sims. And he went to Amir first and said, we're going to need you to sacrifice. You're probably not going to play as many minutes as a senior as you did as a junior. Okay? So when you think about that, if Amir Sims, who's preseason All-ACC and who was third-team All-ACC a year ago, if he buys in, then how is it that anyone else on this team should not buy in when they don't have the resume that he has? And when that's where the leadership comes into play, and that's part of the reason why it's been so successful thus far for the Tigers.
And Amir says this is a little reminiscent of his freshman year where they had more reserves and had guys coming off the bench in waves. Certainly not then as much as they have now. And so far tonight, it's been all Tigers. Offensive rebound extends the possession for Clemson.
And we've seen that a number of times already. The last time we saw that offensive board, it was Hemingway knocking down the three. Clemson will now run more time off the clock, run more offense, and make Maryland have to work for the 20 seconds and come up with another bucket. Second chance points is John Newman, who had a breakout year ago last year. Also another one of those guys sacrificing minutes, but still producing.
Strong rebound on the defensive glass by P.J. Hall, listed at 6'10", 235.
Hall does a great job running the floor, demanding the attention of Maryland's defense. Galen Smith having to battle to keep Hall out of the paint. But when you look at the ability to shoot the basketball for Clemson and having so many guys spacing the floor, it opens up lanes. And that time, John Newman just exposing that open paint. 6 points for him for 3 for 5 from the field already. And John Newman having P.J. Hall in the corner. Galen Smith is in between as to whether or not he wants to help enough and open up the kick, but not getting over there. He doesn't take away the space, allowing Newman to get a relatively easy layup going to that dominant left hand.
And the Terps turn it over again. Nick Honor at the point for Clemson. The Fordham transfer who sat out last year running the Clemson scout team in practice. This feed to the post leads to a good look, but no finish for the Tigers. Terps back the other way. Hart. And a whistle and a foul. Tonight, the 22nd annual ACC Big Ten Challenge continues on ESPN with Indiana taking on number 20 Florida State at 7:15 p.m. Eastern. That'll be followed by Pittsburgh and Northwestern at 9:15. Both games on ESPN and the ESPN app. So Florida State, Corey, loses a couple of first-round draft picks. Where do you see the Seminoles this year?
Well, according to my man, Coach Ham, they're just as good or better this year. And I can, when you are familiar with Scotty Barnes, you can understand why. Scotty Barnes is an elite defender, but also a great team player. He's playing the point guard position at 6'7", allows Florida State to be able to switch everything defensively and not give up any mismatches. So right now, Coach Ham says they're just as good, and he's been telling me that for the last 4 to 5 years, that they're better every year, and they have been, so I don't have much choice but to believe it.
Darryl Morsell comes back in for Maryland, the undisputed team leader. 20-point Clemson lead. All in Tyson. Honor feeds it inside to the big man, Hall. Fouled on the way up.
It's going to be interesting to see.
Terps.
But that ball went up on the glass, and that could have been goaltending. I'm not sure if that was off. And a great find from Honor. But as you look, once the ball hits the glass, you see coming in, that's not going to go in. From that angle, you can tell that doesn't have a chance of going in. But coming up there, getting that basketball afterwards, I thought it was a goaltending. But you see P.J. Hall working hard on the interior, and more importantly, his teammates looking to get him the basketball. And this young man out of Dorman High School, the #1 player coming out of the state of South Carolina last year, off to a great start in his Clemson career thus far.
Won a couple of state titles for Dorman. How big a recruit was that for him? A national top 50 recruit for Coach Brownell and his staff to keep close to home.
Well, that's huge because you want to be able to get the guys, from home, but also you're battling with South Carolina. And so South Carolina's gotten a number of those guys. You go back and think about, Sindarius Thornwell and P.J. Dozier. But for Brad Brownell and his staff to be able to go get P.J. Hall was huge for this Tiger program because you have a cornerstone to build on, hopefully, for the next few years.
Coach Turgeon having a conversation with Michael Stevens, our officials tonight. Stevens, along with Ted Ballantyne and Ron Groover. Clock issue, stops play at the 4:08 mark, or at least so the clock shows now.
Well, Doug, with the new rules with the L-shaped benches, you see the difference, and most teams have been doing it traditionally the way that Maryland has, where you have the 4 coaches sitting beside each other. But if you look at the Clemson bench, you'll see going all the way down under the basket, Antonio Reynolds-Dean, one of the assistant coaches for Clemson, is on the other side of the floor. Anthony Goings is kind of in the middle, but then when you look up, Dick Bender is up beside Coach Brownell. They're spread out all over the court, allowing each and every player to kind of have access to one of the coaches. Kind of a different view of what I've seen thus far with this new L-shaped bench that many of the schools have gone to.
And we just got to look. You mentioned Antonio Reynolds-Dean. He's the University of Rhode Island Hall of Famer. He was part of some great teams for both Al Skinner and Jim Herrick. And, Amir Sims talks glowingly, Corey, of the time he has spent over the last 4 years honing his game with Antonio Reynolds-Dean.
Well, Antonio Reynolds-Dean does a great job, not only with the bigs, but recruiting as well. But building that relationship with his players is huge. And again, the thing is, and many people talk about when you come into college basketball, the reality behind it is you can have a good relationship with your coach, but the head coach is not the person that you talk to most often, because you've got to have that sounding board when the head coach is getting on your nerves and he's staying on your case, et cetera, et cetera. And that's normally the assistant coach that recruited you or coaches your position when you get to school. Antonio Reynolds-Dean has been that for these Clemson Tigers, and especially for Amir Sims, and it's paid off big time when you consider the career that Amir Sims has had now as his senior year. And Antonio Reynolds-Dean, and no coincidence that this is Antonio Reynolds-Dean's 4th season as his assistant coach with Clemson.
Saturday, it's a college football battle in the ACC as number 17 North Carolina takes on number 10 Miami. 3:30 Eastern on ABC. Points should not be hard to come by when the Tar Heels and Hurricanes get together on the gridiron. Honor misfires off the curl. And it'll be Maryland basketball. Honor 2 years removed from making the Atlantic 10 Conference All-Rookie team at Fordham. He averaged over 15 points per game. Wanted to transfer closer to home. He's a Floridian, but also transferring up, obviously, into the ACC. And they had hoped to get him eligible last year, Corey, but really the sit-out year for him to work on his game has worked well for him in the long run.
It really has. And when you know that's something that you have coming in the following season, it gives you something to look forward to for Coach Brad Brownell. And now he has two quality point guards, Honor and Alamir Dawes, who had a great freshman season a year ago. A two-headed monster at the point guard position, and also can play those guys together. Both have the ability to score.
The one concern Coach Brownell talked about those two playing together, they're not the biggest guys. Honor 5'10", Dawes 6'2", and especially against a team like this where Maryland pretty much goes 6'5", 6'6" with their entire backcourt. Although so far tonight, Corey, certainly hasn't been a problem.
Well, this game coming in, we talked about the size and strength of Maryland, especially in the backcourt, versus the speed and quickness of Clemson. And right now, it's been all Clemson. The size of Maryland has had zero effect on the Clemson Tigers, but the speed and quickness of the Tigers has definitely affected Maryland in this game.
Yeah, Terps, no field goals for the last 5 minutes, down 22 points in this ACC Big Ten Challenge game between the Terps and the Tigers. Strong to the rim to break that drought is Galen Smith.
And right now, Teddy Valentine not happy with the Maryland Terrapins and all the chatter going on. And again, it's one of the things we have the opportunity to hear that you wouldn't hear in a normal game, but you can hear the complaining from the Maryland players to the officials talking about what is a foul, what is not a foul. And Teddy Valentine taking his own timeout to make sure that the Terps knew this level of conversation was not going to continue in this game.
Nice look inside, and the reverse by Amir Sims.
We have official timeout.
Thus far, it's been a clinic offensively for the Tigers. Nice pass from Chase Hunter to Amir Sims, who finishes it off easy.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Pandora. Listen to music from uninterrupted radio, only on Pandora.
Pandora halftime report is on the way. Coming up, we'll check in on number 13 Wisconsin, taking on a good Rhode Island team on short notice. Plus, Coach K, notable comments last night. Fonz, Dabo Sweety's game plan's been tremendous so far.
Kev, this is basketball. What are you talking about? Maryland's best players, Ayala, Wiggins, and Morcell have to step up, Seth. Combined 2 for 14 can happen from your best players.
Clemson's playing 11 guys, and they are efficient, executing offensively and connected defensively. That is big time, especially playing that many players. What do you think about that, Corey?
Well, Coach, I can remember you having the Castle Coliseum rocking, playing all those guys, but you never went that deep into the rotation. You were more of an 8, maybe 9-man guy with Malcolm Delaney and Jeff Allen getting it done. But when you think about the rotation and how many players are getting played, Doug, you mentioned earlier, how do you keep everyone happy? And in this transfer portal, society that we live in today, where if you're not happy, you just move to a different situation. I think that Brad Brownell has done a great job thus far keeping his guys happy by playing a much faster tempo and also a higher pressure defensively full court, because guys get tired, which means you have to stub them in and out of the game.
Corey, that was the 9th Maryland turnover as they didn't get the shot off before the shot clock expired.
Well, one thing we know, Clemson has forced 65 turnovers in their first 3 games. They forced 22 turnovers against Purdue, another Big Ten team. So, again, Clemson has the ability to do that, but that falls right into the full court pressure. And when you have guys stepping up and knocking down shots and scoring, well, now you're able to pick up full court and apply the pressure, as we see Nick Honor picking up. And right now, Clemson is firing on all cylinders in this first half.
A chance for a three-point play at the other end for the Terps. On the layup by Hakeem Hart.
And right now, just Hunter Tyson getting to the loose ball. Amir Sims just sizing up Wiggins and knocking down the three. Amir Sims with 12 points already in this game, averaging 12 on the season, but those numbers are low because he only played 7.5 minutes in their opener versus Mississippi State, scoring 4 points in that game. But Amir Sims, the way he's going tonight, he's going to get that average way up if he continues to have more success in the second half like he's having here in the first.
And Corey, we barely mentioned Akeem Hart, who just missed the free throw after making the layup. He's coming off his career-high 32 points Friday against St. Peter's. In his entire year-and-a-half career, he had scored a total of 45 points before that game when he went for 32. He has been certainly held in check so far tonight. And you know he moved way up that scouting report for the Clemson Tigers coming off of that game Friday.
Absolutely. And Hart hit 5 3-pointers in that game. And when you are able to come out and have that type of performance, the antennas definitely go up on your opponent. So he has been paid special attention to. But when you look at it, and this is a case right here, Amir Sims, the center for Clemson right now, is picking up 94 feet guarding Dante Scott. Now hedges a pick and roll and gets back to Scott. Brad Brownell talked to us earlier about the level of condition that the 5-man and the point guard have to be in today's basketball. And right now, you see Amir Sims in that level of condition, getting that from, of course, Antonio Reynolds-Dean, meeting him on the court for his effort. But because of that, it sped Maryland up, forcing Maryland to turn it over for the 10th time in this first half.
Shot clock off, final 15 seconds in a game that's been all Clemson Tigers. Nick Honor gives to Sims. Gave a little head fake, drive to the bucket with a left hand, no. And that'll end what has been a difficult first 20 minutes for the Terrapins.
And give Clemson credit for what they've been able to do defensively, pushing them out to this 23-point lead.
Terps just fourth time held to 17 or less in the first half in the last decade. We send it back to the studio. Welcome back to ESPN's Holiday Hoops presented by Pandora. This is the ACC Big Ten Challenge presented by Continental Tire. As we get ready for the start of the second half, you see it's been all Clemson, 38-15. The Terps have got to get it going. With Corey Alexander, I'm Doug Sherman, and for Maryland, 10 turnovers, 6 made field goals. On the other side, Corey, Clemson looked good right from the start.
Well, Clemson has 6 3-pointers in itself, so they've matched Maryland from beyond the 3-point line with Maryland's total field goals. And this is a Maryland team that came into the game shooting 56% from the field as a team, but it's been all about the Tigers knocking down threes and shooting the basketball extremely well on their home floor. Alex Hemingway with 2 3-pointers. Amir Sims knocked down 2 threes. And for Maryland, it's been the complete opposite. Only 1 for 8 from beyond the 3-point arc in the first half. 6 for 23 overall from the field. And it's been a struggle to score for the Terps, and the reason why they found themselves with a 23-point halftime deficit.
No Maryland player has more than 1 made field goal. The lead scorer is Dante Scott with 3 points. Meanwhile, the Clemson bench has 20 points. The starters for Clemson, 18. And it was a 25-5 run in that first half that really gave the Tigers a stranglehold right now. So, Corey, the big question is, with 20 minutes to play, what can the Terps do to get back in this thing?
Well, right now, the Terps really have to get stops. That's where it's going to start for them because, of course, they can't go basket for basket as Alamir Dawes comes out and knocks down the easy 2 to start the second half to increase the lead to 25. But, Maryland can't go basket for basket. They're going to have to get stops. And then I'm sure if you're Mark Turgeon, you told your team in the locker room, listen, the only ACC win thus far in the ACC Big Ten Challenge was Miami, and they came back from a 20-point deficit to win yesterday. So you can come back, but you got to get stops to do it.
Yeah, we saw the Tar Heels almost come back and get a win against Iowa until the Hawkeyes said, well, you know what, we're the best shooting team in the country. You're not going to beat us tonight. But the Tar Heels did erase a big deficit, so it's certainly a possibility here for the Terps. But like you said, if Clemson keeps scoring, they're not going to beat them.
And Maryland going inside early, getting Galen Smith an opportunity. He's able to knock down the first free throw, but one of the ways to try to slow down a team is to throw the basketball inside and force you guys who are making three-point shots, Amir Sims and Jonathan Bear, make them have to play defense on the block to try to wear into their legs a little bit. Maybe you can cause them to miss a couple of those shots on the other end of the floor.
Wide open from the corner. Off the mark is Dawes. Maryland basketball, Terps in their road black and Clemson in its home white. There are a few fans in the stands at Littlejohn Coliseum. First time for the Terps this year playing in front of any live bodies up in the stands. Morsell in trouble. Fight for the basketball. Sims has it. Here comes Clemson on the run. Blocked from behind. And Maryland trying to cash it in at the other end. Morsell misfires. Applied trap. Sims thought about it, and now they'll settle in.
Good smart play by Amir Sims right there. He's already knocked down 2 threes. He could have taken that one and has the green light to be able to do it. But recognizing the way the game is going and the feel for the game at the time, knowing it's better to get a set offense going to get a shot for his team.
Jonathan Bear, the misfire. Sims leads all scorers with 12. And again, nobody from Maryland has more than now the 4 points for Galen Smith. I mean, everything went bad for Coach Turgeon's team in that first half, Corey. 6 of 23 from the floor, 2 of 7 from the free throw line.
And Scott doing a great job getting back, blocking the shot of Alamir Dawes. And one of the things now, the chase down block is so popular. It's not new, but it's so popular in today's game that if you get out on a fast break, if you're not dunking it, you're pretty much starting to break the other direction for the opponent. Doug, you mentioned this is the first time that Maryland's played with fans in the stands and parents, for the Terps. Many of their only time to be able to see their sons play this season is John Newman's able to get to the rim for another easy layup. But if you're Mark Turgeon right now, you don't want any more parents. You're down 25 with parents watching. You don't want parents in the gym ever again.
Coaches aren't too superstitious, are they?
No, not at all.
Eric Ayala with the layup, 42-19 Clemson. Sims makes the extra pass, finds a wide open teammate, but Wiggins off the mark. Rather, Dawes, excuse me. I see some of the family members who made the trip to Clemson, South Carolina, and over the years we have talked about the Morsell family. Daryl's parents, Carolyn and Dwayne, hadn't missed a game of his either in high school at Mount St. Joseph in Baltimore or at Maryland home or road until the pandemic. And so this is their first opportunity after missing the first 4 games of the season for Maryland to get back into the habit of seeing their son in person and watching, unfortunately, though, the Terps down by 23 points. Sims, cleaned up nicely by Newman, who's into double figures.
And John Newman has played great basketball for Clemson thus far, and really just doing it with hustle points. A couple times he's had to make his way to the basket, but that's his second offensive rebound and putback because the attention that Amir Sims is getting on the interior. John Newman always doing a great job defensively. And we talked about the minutes. He's only averaging about a little over 18 minutes a game, but being very productive in the amount of time he's on the floor.
Dawes picks up his dribble. Sims off the bounce, kick it back out. Hunter Tyson drives and dishes to Dawes, off the mark.
Doug, Maryland is fortunate right now because Clemson has missed 3 wide open threes off of great ball movement. And Clemson could have really blown this thing open if they were able to knock down some of those shots. The Terps sticking around, but John Newman continuing to have success here tonight.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Pandora. Listen to music from uninterrupted radio only on Pandora. Corey Alexander, I'm Doug Sherman. Clemson with a 23-point lead over Maryland on this second night of the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Tigers have been in control pretty much from the beginning. And while Maryland has typically been able to get multiple players into double figures, you can see the struggle while the Tigers have 2 players all by themselves, Sims and Newman, combining to outscore the Terps all by themselves.
Yeah, you mentioned that Maryland has had multiple games where they've had 6 players in double figures. And right now, it's only the 2 guys for Clemson in double figures after 25 minutes of play as Galen Smith is able to come away with another bucket. And it looks like Maryland may have found something that works for them on the offensive end of the floor, but they're going to have to get some stops on defense in order to get back in this game.
That was another illustration of how the Terps have struggled at the offensive end, Corey. They have not had 4 straight points in this game yet. Think about that.
Boy, Mark Turgeon going with wholesale changes right now. 4 new Terps coming into the game, looking for some energy, and they did a great job on the last possession defensively, getting the trap in what is called dead man's corners. And right now getting an opportunity to do just what you said they haven't done, score at least 4 straight points on back-to-back possessions and try to cut into this lead.
So Aquan Smart, Reese Mona into the backcourt now for the Terps, and they do just that with a long-range shot. Bucket is good by Dante Scott, and it draws Maryland back to within 18.
It gives them an opportunity to set up that pressure once again in a great trap. Now, if you're Clemson at this point, when you get the ball out of the trap, you don't want to sit back and try to run the clock too much and start to get passive. You want to stay aggressive in this game the way they got you this lead.
Foul on the perimeter, going to go against Reese Mona, the senior who is on scholarship this year after having been a preferred walk-on his first 3.
And that shows you just how far Mark Turgeon has had to go into his roster to find some type of spark. But Mona doing just that, making the pass to Dante Scott, who knocked down his second 3 on the evening. And Dante Scott is actually, if you had to say one of Maryland players has played well, Dante Scott has actually put together a decent performance. 8 points for him, 3 for 5 from the field, 2 for 3 from beyond the arc, to go along with 6 rebounds. So he's been the bright spot for the Terps in this game.
So far on the year, Dante Scott is 7 of 12 from beyond the arc, averaging about 12 points, over 7 rebounds per game. And you're right, Corey, he has been perhaps the lone bright spot so far.
Well, you know how I feel about that. If he's 7 for 12 from beyond the 3-point arc, in what is now his 5th game? No, that can't happen. He's not getting enough shots.
We got to get word down to Dante Scott that Corey Alexander's not pleased with the fact that he's been so selfish. Perhaps he heard you, missing on the reverse.
But I like the fact that he didn't settle. He took that to the rim, had a great opportunity to put more points on the board, and also, could have gotten a foul on that possession from Amir Sims. So I like Scott's aggressiveness on the offensive end of the floor. He's going to have to continue to be that guy for Maryland. They've got to find someone else to help him out.
Jonathan Baer trying to play big down low. He takes the feed from Sims and lays it in.
And when you look at this Clemson team, they have 5 guys that can space the floor and shoot the 3-ball, but you also have, with Amir Sims and Baer on the court, 2 guys that can score and finish over top of the defense in the paint. So Brad Brownell has a lot of tools in the toolbox to work with his Clemson roster this season.
Scott after the rebound. Maryland keeps. Scott again.
Get Scott more shots. If you're a Maryland Terrapin fan, this guy has to get more looks at it. Start running some action to open him up because he's feeling good about his game right now.
Foul in the front court. Corey, I hesitate to bring this up, but Dante Scott played at Imhotep Charter, and that powerhouse in Philadelphia had a couple of signature wins while Dante was on the varsity roster. They beat Montverde Academy, and they beat another school you're quite familiar with.
I do remember that. I was not at that game, but I do remember that game happening, and we're not going to talk about that anymore.
Well, that would be Oak Hill Academy. I think you've got a little Oak Hill Academy love on the wall behind you there at your house, right?
Oh, I do. I mean, how many other high schools have their name on their own shoe?
I don't know. Is that a rhetorical question?
I don't think there is another one, so therefore I'm going to go with none. And if there is one, no way they're getting to this microphone right now to prove me wrong.
Nearly 8 minutes gone here in the second. Maryland trying to chip away. Down by 17 to Clemson. Aquan Smart getting extended minutes here in the second half in the backcourt for Coach Turgeon. That'll take us to break. We'll step away. All Clemson on top of Maryland. During these challenging times, ESPN and the V Foundation's fight against cancer has not stopped. If you are able, please support cancer research by visiting v.org/donate. 100% of what you give goes to cancer research. With Corey Alexander, I'm Doug Sherman, and back in your high school playing days at Oak Hill Academy, you had the occasion to be recruited by Jimmy V, right, Corey?
I did. During my junior year, I talked with Coach Valvano a number of times, and they were, of course, a huge Nike school, so they were one of my schools on the list. And then after my junior year, Coach Valvano stepped away as a coach, and he became a commentator. So during my freshman year, or first year at the University of Virginia, he commentated a number of my games, had the opportunity to talk with Jimmy V. And I can tell you right now, I mean, the people will look at, his speech, and those who never had the opportunity to meet him and be around him and not realize that that's how he was all the time. He was always on. There was never a time where you would see him in a bad mood. He was just constantly full of energy, full of life, and that's the way he lived. And, again, that's the way he wants people to live. And, what the V Foundation has been able to do is trying to give opportunities for so many people to continue to live that life and beat this cancer.
Nice look inside. You know what? Maryland has scored more points here in the second half, Corey, than it did the entire first half.
And that possession, Amir Sims got caught with his head turned for the second time. That was the same thing that happened to him on the first possession of the game where Maryland was able to get a layup. And it happens again. And right now, the Terps have some momentum going in their favor. Catching Maryland sleeping. Clemson sleeping for the easy backdoor layup.
The NBA preseason. Yes, the preseason starts Friday, and we'll have the Kings and Blazers from the Moda Center in Portland, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific on ESPN and the ESPN app. With Corey Alexander, I'm Doug Sherman. Corey, you spent the better part of a decade playing in the NBA. How would your body have responded to such a short turnaround of the offseason, especially for those teams that played late into the bubble and into the finals this fall?
Well, honestly, these guys are in such great shape that realistically it makes it somewhat easier because you don't get out of shape. And so, but when it comes to the load management and everything that I think we're going to see, and I've heard, a lot of rumors about there going to be team fines, et cetera, I think there will be even more load management this year to make sure that those guys are rested when they get to the playoffs and try to keep them as healthy as possible.
That's an interesting take. I'd never heard anybody say that, Corey, but you're right. For those guys who've only been off for, a month and a half, 2 months, less time to get out of shape.
That's a saying in the NBA. The easiest way to get into shape is stay in shape. You never get out. And so, from that standpoint, we've seen videos. LeBron James wins the World Championship, and you see videos of him a couple days later in his home lifting weights with his daughter. So again, it's not as though LeBron is just going to sit around and do nothing. But you also have to look at the other side of it. There are NBA basketball players that have not played basketball since March. And so, starting the season December 22nd was best case scenario because you've got guys who haven't played in forever. And again, I don't think they should penalize anyone for load managing, honestly, this year. Simply because you have guys who just finished playing 2 months ago.
Dawes is fouled by Aquan Smart. Don't look now, but what was a 25-point game a few minutes ago is down to 14. Maryland is chipped away and making a ball game of it.
And what you haven't seen is the scoreboard move for Clemson. We talked about at the beginning of this half, how does Maryland get back into it? Well, it's been a significant drought for the Clemson Tigers. They've been stuck on 46 forever. And so when you think about it now, Alameda Dawes has the opportunity to put some points on the board for the Tigers. But Maryland has done the job defensively and is the reason why they've cut this game or cut this lead pretty much in half.
Young man from northern New Jersey out of the Patrick School. He's a Newark native. Dawes makes the first. And we see Dante Scott, who leads all Terrapins in scoring, coming back off the bench.
That's the first Clemson point in close to 3 minutes. So, Maryland has been able to do the job by scoring. They've been able to set up their pressure and get a number of very good traps, turning Clemson over and also keeping Clemson out of their full court pressure, which you see they want to do. Nick Honor doing a great job picking up Ayala in the full court, putting pressure on Maryland's backcourt.
Well, Maryland fans have gotten used to Melo Trimble, Anthony Cowan. This is the first time in several years they haven't had a ball-dominant point guard. It's more by committee. Great fake, and then the layup by Ayala. What do you think about the way the Terps are constituted in the backcourt this year relative to the way they've been in recent years, Corey?
Well, I'm a huge Ant Cowan fan. Not that I didn't like Melo Trimble. I like Melo Trimble, but I'm a huge Anthony Cowan fan. And so having a guy like that, but, makes you, of course, a threat every given night because he can go out and win a game or two by himself. And so part of the reason why they were Big Ten champions a year ago was because of Ant Cowan. But Eric Ayala played beside Ant Cowan, and Mark Turgeon told us there were often times where Ayala would initiate the offense and allow Cowan to play off the basketball and be able to score. And right now it's simply about Maryland getting stops and defensively stepping up. Now, I'm not sure how that is a offensive foul because Dante Scott's feet are all over the restricted area line. And, again, Teddy Valentine's my guy. That's not the right call.
That's why your guy's over at the monitor. Teddy's over at the monitor.
Yeah, and that's what makes a great official. Is if you have question marks, you go check on it yourself and make sure you got it right. He'll come away from that one. That is going to be a block because Dante Scott, even though he came over and did a great job getting in position, his feet are on the restricted area line. And matter of fact, Doug, when you think about it, I don't think that call can be reviewed. I'm not sure what it was that Teddy Valentine was looking at, but coming out of that, again, that call cannot be reviewed, so they're not going to come back and give the basketball to Clemson in that scenario because they were just checking to see who it was who actually got the foul on that possession.
Gotcha. Hamilton, no. Rebound out of bounds. Clemson basketball. Big opportunity missed on that three ball by Jarius Hamilton. 9:13 remaining in the second.
So what did you see the full court pressure. You see the full court pressure by Maryland, which has really disrupted the rhythm offensively for Clemson. Now, Doug, we'll go back to your play in the first half where Amir Sims was able to catch the basketball in the middle of the floor against the full court pressure, went straight to the basket and got a layup. And right now, you don't see Clemson playing with that level of attack when they get across. They're being more passive, getting the basketball around the perimeter, this time getting the ball inside to Sims. But at some point, Clemson's going to have to go back to being aggressive against this trap and start trying to put more points on the board, and when they get an opportunity to play against advantage basketball.
Honor, Dawes, and Trap in the backcourt for Clemson. Bear and Sims inside for the Tigers, who come in with a 3-0 record. Maryland 4-0. Honor with only 3 to shoot. Has it blocked. Great defense by Scott. And it's a shot clock violation.
And Scott has been a difference maker for the Terps, especially in the second half. Not only making shots, but getting stops on the other end of the floor. And now Maryland has an opportunity to get this lead back down to 12, maybe even 11. You know, if they're able to come away with a bucket on this end of the floor. But Maryland, with only 8.5 minutes remaining, they're running out of time. Again, you don't want to be in a scenario where you feel panic, but you got to recognize you got to start putting points on the board if you want to try to find a way to come back and win this game.
Ayala and Wiggins together in the backcourt. Wiggins feeds inside, and the bucket banked in by Smith.
12-point game, the pressure once again. And now Brad Brownell going with both point guards on the floor to try to handle this pressure. But this is the point where Clemson can't be passive again and be facing the shot clock and another shot clock violation, moving the basketball around the perimeter. It has to start to attack.
Shot clock again coming into play. Honor puts up an air ball, but there to clean it up is Sims. Tough pass to handle. Here comes Dawes. Pulls up and hits.
And just like that, what was a 12-point game is now back to a 17-point lead for the Clemson Tigers. Mark Turgeon recognizing 2 straight possessions where his team's mistakes hurt them. And this time, it's Alamir Dawes, not only with the steal, but the confidence and the pull-up from the top of the key for 3.
Clemson 53, Maryland 36. Doug Sherman with Corey Alexander. And Corey, no matter what I do the rest of the day, I will have not achieved what you have achieved today, shaving decades off of your face.
Well, I wouldn't call it decades. I'm going 9 months, but it probably made me look decades younger, taking away some of the gray. But I'm going to miss the beard. I felt a breeze going through my house some reason on my face. I'm not sure how that works, but if I call 911 or an intruder breaking into my house, it's just me in the mirror. Don't worry about it. 911, don't come this time.
Toughest part about having a beard like that is?
Eating.
Yeah.
Eating. That's the toughest part. Eating without having hair in your food. You can't send it back because it's yours.
Off the inbound, Maryland trying to get back. They had drawn to within 12. Good work on the offensive glass. Put back by Morsell. Back to your beard for a second, Corey. I got to ask you, you said when you debuted this beard, your quarantine beard a couple of weeks ago, you said your phone had at least 200 text messages on it.
Absolutely.
The funniest text message you got that night when people saw your beard for the first time was?
My guy, Doug Martin, Team Takeover, texted me and said, I'm not sure if you look like James Harden's or Rick Ross's daddy.
There it is.
My man Doug Martin, he hit me with this. So he won the Text of the Night award on that one.
But that's a thing of the past. 9 months of growing it out. Back to a clean look for Mr. Alexander. I like it.
You know, the distraction, honestly, no one realizes how much hair I had. Nobody even thought about that because they were so focused on the beard. I haven't cut my hair in 9 months either, and I'm not cutting my hair for at least a year. It's going to be a new hairstyle this spring at EYBL season.
If you need a couple bucks, I can help you.
No, I got the clippers by own. I'm a somewhat barber. I got the clippers. I'm good.
You'll notice Aaron Wiggins just finally got himself into the scoring column with that three-pointer. It's back to a 14-point Clemson lead. Dawes, make it 2 in a row for him.
And he's had moments like this throughout his, short career at Clemson where he can put the team on his back offensively. And right now, when you've got Dawes on the floor alongside Nick Honor, we talked about being aggressive offensively and not settling. Alamir Dawes is not going to sit back and watch Maryland come back. He's going to try to do something about it, and he's done so to the tune of 2 threes during this run.
Every time I see Sims, I just think, well, that's what a fourth-year senior is supposed to look like, Corey.
Absolutely. He's playing like it as well. And Amir Sims really, exemplifies what you want to see in a college basketball player, a guy that gets better each and every year. And Amir Sims was on the Sweet 16 team for Clemson and played a role with that group, but now he's the leader of the Clemson Tigers and looking to get back to that level of success in his senior year.
And just that last possession, he gets the offensive rebound, and instead of forcing it, kicks it back out, reposts, seals his defender, and gets himself a foul. I mean, it's just picture perfect.
And right now, Brad Brownell, you can hear it. He wants Alamir Dawes to go at Dante Scott. These two guys have history playing against each other in high school. Emotep versus the Patrick School as Dawes takes it to the rim, unable to finish. But Clemson did kill 30 seconds on that shot clock.
Offensive rebound, Hamilton, but then Clemson with the takeaway, and Honor puts it up for 3. It's good!
So you heard me talking about the two-headed monster at point guard position for Brad Brownell. At this point, Coach Brownell recognizing his 2 best perimeter players are Alamir Dawes and Nick Honor. Both those guys on the floor at the same time, playing against a much bigger backcourt for the Maryland Terrapins. However, not phasing these guys at all, getting the job done on both ends of the floor.
Wiggins for 3. Sims has it poked away. On the run out, Hakeem Hart throws it down. Pressure again by the Terrapins. They're desperate to try and turn over Clemson. Tigers handle that pressure, though. Right to the bucket for 2 more.
That's the way you have to play out of the trap. You have an advantage. John Newman not settling, not pulling it out, doing a great job attacking the rim and getting the easy bucket to increase the Clemson lead to 17.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Continental Tire. For what you do. Tonight, for this matchup between Maryland and Clemson. Now, last night, this ACC Big Ten Challenge, Corey, was all about the Big Ten. Clemson trying to reclaim a little bit of that pride tonight for the ACC. But what did you make out of what we saw last night and how good the Big Ten looks so far in the early season?
Well, I think the Big Ten looks very good in the early season. A lot of that has to do with the fact that you've got a lot of returning players to the Big Ten. I mean, they went through a roster of guys who put their names in the draft but came back to Big Ten schools. And, Luka Garza, Ayo DeSumo, Kofi Coburn, when those are 3 significant guys when you look at how good Iowa is, how good Illinois is this year in the Big Ten. And so when you have veteran players coming back into a summer where you did not have much basketball, much preseason, with COVID going on, the Big Ten has looked great. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they've got continuity in their programs and veteran guys. The ACC, you got a lot of young guys, and many of them playing in their second, third, fourth games. And, this will be Scotty Barnes' second game when he plays for Florida State tonight. So right now, I would say, yes, the Big Ten is extremely strong. But come March, the best conference in the country, the Atlantic Coast Conference, will be right back in the mix of things as we always are.
I just realized you're the East Coast version of Bill Walton.
First off, Bill Walton is my guy. Bill Walton gave the beard a lot of love. we've gotten to be cool now, and so I would say no to that, because Bill Walton, who mentions the Conference of Champions as the Pac-12, in which I understand his logic behind it, but the Conference of Basketball Champions would be the ACC, who's won 8 national championships since the Big Ten has won their last one.
And who's the reigning national champion again?
2 years.
Right.
The University of Virginia. No disrespect. The Big Ten is going to be great this year. I'm looking forward to seeing how good the ACC teams are in March. And right now, the Big Ten is a better conference top to bottom as far as the teams lining up. But when you talk talent, you got to look at the ACC.
And I think a lot of ACC schools, this has been a great opportunity, this ACC Big Ten Challenge, to see exactly where you are and where you've got to get to. And for Clemson, they have shown, picked 10th in the preseason conference poll, looking real good to start as they are closing in on 4-0. Well, we have 2 great college basketball matchups this Sunday on ESPN. At 1 Eastern, number 19 Richmond takes on number 11 West Virginia. Then at 3, it's number 13 Texas facing second-ranked Baylor. Both games on ESPN and the ESPN app.
I tell you what, Texas has had themselves a schedule. You think about winning the Maui Invitational, beating North Carolina. I'm not sure who else they beat. Maybe Stanford along the way, or Indiana. No, they beat Indiana. But now they lost to Villanova, and now they have Baylor. I mean, give Shaka Smart credit. I mean, in this COVID year, he definitely didn't back down from any type of competition and putting his team to the test. And I think it's really going to help Texas in Big 12 play, especially as the season goes along, being tested so much this early.
Sims gives up the foul. He is done for the night with 16 points. And that allows Lynn Kidd to come into the game. But number 25 got it done at both ends again tonight, Corey.
He really did. 12 first-half points for Amir Sims. He set the tone for Clemson to begin this game. And again, when your best player buys into what it is that you're trying to do, it makes it easier to coach everyone else on your team. Amir Sims has bought into what Brad Brownell is trying to teach regarding sacrifice and everyone being a part of the team and everyone having a role. And because of that, Clemson moves on to 4-0 this season and looking really good getting it done here tonight. And shout out to my man Brad Brownell. He's kept his mask on the whole game. Very few coaches have it on the sideline going down, but Brad's done a great job keeping his mask on the entire time.
Roy Williams, another one, who has done a marvelous job making sure he keeps that thing on.
He has.
Not easy to do.
No, not. Especially when you're running up and down the sideline and trying to yell at your guys, etc.
Final score 67-51. Clemson beats Maryland in a big win for the ACC. And the Tigers improved to 4-0 overall. The Terps dropped to 4-1. For Corey Alexander, I'm Doug Sherman. We send it now back to Dallin Cuff in the studio.
Your Clemson Tigers are back.